So when I first saw this video, which was I guess Sunday night when the Oscars actually happened, I didn't think it was real because the edited version on CBS was it kind of looked like it was a skit. It looked like he made a joke because I saw Will laughing and then Will kind of got up. You see the smack, but it doesn't look the smack doesn't look real. The sound effect almost seems fake too. And then Will kind of walks away and it looks like he's smirking. And you don't get to see the part where he starts yelling. They cut that part out completely. So in the version that was actually broadcast to people watching the Oscars live, you don't see Will's outburst with the entire audience.
Also, think the audio cuts out, doesn't it? Doesn't the audio?
I think it does.
Right
The audio did cut out.
as Will starts walking on stage, I think the audio cuts out because that's the first one I saw, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And then I finally saw like the other version, and then
So
everybody
I thought it was fake.
yeah, and apparently everybody, like even in the crowd, thought it was like fake.
A skit.
Yeah, skit.
Because these are two comedians, right? And they're two typically funny people. I just never in a million years thought, especially we're talking about Will Smith here, who's one of the most.
Will Smith
like,
does comedy movies, but he's not a comedian.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a stand-up comedian, but he is a comedian.
He's
Like,
a soft comedian.
Yeah, like he's a comedian. All of his movies pretty much are him being funny. And even though he doesn't do stand-up, like that's a different type of comedy, but I would classify him as an actor / comedian. Like he is.
I mean, he's
a funny guy.
You gotta admit, Fresh Prince is funny as fuck.
Yeah,
Fresh
it is
Prince
one of the
is
funniest
amazing.
shows. And like you think about a lot of like Men in Black, Bad Boys. Oh my god, Will Smith is. But the point is, anyway, no matter how you classify Will Smith as a person, him and Chris Rock's interactions, you would expect them to just be funny interactions because both of them are known to be funny people.
Yep.
So when I saw
Chris Rock thought it was going to be funny too.
Hold on. It's a funny interaction. This is a funny interaction.
Well, it's funny. I actually have a picture up here right now of Chris Rock being slapped, and he is laughing. He kind of looks like the Joker. Like if the Joker was black.
You think that's what he's doing in
He
that
is
moment?
not laughing.
Yo, bro, I swear it looks like he's laughing right there.
It looks like he's going, ah, shit!
Honestly, to me, I shared the meme in our group chat, and it was the one where you see Spider-Man from the recent No Way Home movie beating up on Green Goblin in the hallway, where he's literally mounting him. Yeah. He's like straddles his face, and he's punching him, and you see Green Goblin looking up, he's smiling. That's the energy Chris Rock looked like he's giving in this background picture. But yeah, I just didn't think it was real. And when he goes back to his seat, Chris Rock says like, "Holy shit!" Like Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me. And he says, well, that was the greatest night in television history. Like, it's very awkward. It's very quiet. And the whole thing, it's just out of hand. There are so many layers to this. You're going to hear me say that a lot during this episode. I think this is a multi-layered issue. This entire thing, there's been a ton of quote unquote think pieces. There's been a lot of controversy. A lot of people are split. There's issues about race that I think have not, like, they should not play a part in it, but like everyone has their opinions on this. There's so many layers to it.
Absurd that race has anything to do with this. I don't understand how this has anything to do with race. Like,
yeah, I don't think this is
right. That's why you don't get it. You just don't understand, Kenny.
I mean, to be fair, Will Smith got a fresh lineup. Like, compare their hairlines right now.
Honestly,
Chris Rock don't got a lineup. I'm just saying.
Will Smith, his haircut is sharp as fuck, but he was expecting to fully win this award. Also, before we get into the full discussion, arguments, and whatever we're going to do with this, I do want to say it is wild that after smacking Chris Rock, physically assaulting this man, screaming at the top of his lungs, Will Smith then proceeds to win the Oscar for Best Actor in a Leading Role, which is an insane Oscar to win. It's very difficult to win, obviously. He ends up being like Denzel Washington, Andrew Garfield, and a couple other people. He wins the award after this incident. I just think that is insane. That's going to go down as one of the craziest things in Black history. Like, it's just such an absurd thing.
Does Will Smith go on stage and smack Chris Rock if the timeline's reversed? If he wins the award first and then the joke happens?
There are so many variables to that. I thought about that scenario, but I also thought about, like, so does he smack him if he won the award already? So he's like on a high, right? Like he's already, like, nothing can really go wrong after you've already won the award, I feel like. Maybe it doesn't happen. The other question that people ask, does he smack him if Chris Rock was a white person? And that's where people started to insert race into it. Like, go ahead.
The timeline where Will Smith goes up on stage to smack Chris Rock, and Chris Rock dodges, and then Will Smith is just chasing Chris Rock
around the stage. That would have been so. Honestly, there's so many outcomes that
if he did a Kimbo slice dodge, like just a real, like he just.
So imagine that timeline.
One of my favorite tweets that I saw during this night was, there's no fucking way you're going to walk up on stage, slap me, and comfortably walk back to your seat. I would have been up there embarrassing the entire black community. Like that tweet had me dying, because that's the kind of energy, like, I choose violence. Like, I'm, Cersei Lannister was one of my favorite characters in Game of Thrones. If somebody slapped me on stage, I don't know if I would have the professionalism and the composure to not retaliate the way Chris Rock just handled it so well. Like, scarily well.
It's something that frustrates me a lot about. I've seen a lot of takes, and I'm honestly shocked at the amount of takes of people calling Chris Rock a bitch and like saying what Will Smith did was amazing, whatever. I want to get it out real quick. It's been briefly mentioned before, but I'm a gigantic Will Smith stan. Bad Boys is like one of my favorite movies. I've talked about it a bunch. I fucking love Will Smith. Part of it is like Philadelphia bias, whatever. But after seeing this, I was like, man, that's some sucker shit. Like, it was the way it played out was so fucking sucker. And Chris Rock was just a goddamn champion. Like, he just eats the hit. Will Smith is way bigger than him, by the way. And he just, like...
that's the other thing.
He just eats the slap, and then he kind of, like, he comments on it. And then he just, he just lets the show go on. Like, he doesn't make it off. Like, he doesn't continue the clownery. Like, he...
Yeah. So, after the slap happened, Chris Rock... he says that comment about how, it's the greatest night in television history. Will Smith yells at him, "Keep my wife's name out of your fucking mouth." And Chris Rock says, "Dude, it was a G.I. Jane joke." And he said, Will Smith repeats that line again. And then he says, "Okay, I will." Like, calm. Yeah. It's kind of one of those, like, wow, you're really mad about this. And I didn't expect this kind of reaction. You could tell, like, Chris Rock is genuinely surprised by the way he says, like, "I will," like, calm down. Like, it's not that serious.
Yeah.
But, here's the thing. So here's one of the first things that I'll say. You can say whatever you want. We all have the ability, especially with the internet. Social media has definitely changed the way people interact with other human beings. I think most of our interactions are actually virtual now, more than we interact with people, especially now during the pandemic that we're still technically in, right? A lot of our interactions are through computer screens. And this has made people very brazen about the things that they say to other human beings, because you don't have to see the emotion of another person when you say anything. So I've been called all kinds of crazy things online that people probably would not say to my face, right? Because that's just what the computer does. A lot of people make the jokes about Xbox back in the day, the game chats, and how, you just get called the N-word, the F-word, all types of stuff. I'm not going to blatantly say them here, but, like, you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm black, right? So you get called everything online. And that has made people think that it's okay to just say whatever you want without consequence. Now, in real life, you can say still, just like you can online, whatever you want to a person, but you cannot control how they react. And while we can debate on, was it appropriate for Will Smith to smack Chris Rock, to physically assault him for saying that his wife, I guess, looked like G.I. Jane, to play G.I. Jane in the next movie or whatever, was it okay for him to do that? That's one layer. The other thing is controlling how someone reacts. You never, ever know what someone is going through and, like, what will make them snap, right? Like, you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah. But yeah, go ahead.
So my thing is, I don't agree with Will Smith smacking Chris Rock. Like, there's no part of me that's like, that is an appropriate reaction to what he said. Like, that joke and that reaction, I don't even know if I want to call that a joke, if I'm being completely honest.
It wasn't really a joke.
It wasn't funny. Like, it honestly wasn't even, it was, to me, but here's the thing, I always have to I try to empathize. I try to think about it from someone else's perspective, right? I don't have alopecia. I'm not a black woman. I don't have a bald head. I have my hair, whatever. I also don't cry about, like, having a bald head or having this illness. So I'm not affected by it at all. Like I can't relate to her situation whatsoever. I don't know how she actually feels about the fact that her head is shaved. And I don't know how much she cries to her husband, Will Smith, behind closed doors or what they go through. I don't know anything about these people's relationship. I only know them from movies, and that's fucking it. And the things they disclose on Red Table Talk, I know nothing else. So when he said the G.I. Jane thing to me, I wouldn't think anything of it personally. But apparently that was a breaking point for Will Smith, who felt like he needed to stand up for his wife or like protect his wife. And to him, that meant physically assaulting a fellow comedian slash actor slash friend.
Now, I'm going to have to disagree that it was a breaking point, because if it were a breaking point, I don't think he would have laughed at first.
That's why I think it was like some sucker shit, because
it was
he
kind of
laughs at the joke, and then Jada, you see the camera, like he's laughing, and Jada's like, she's pissed.
Yeah, Jada's not having.
And so the camera cuts, and so either one of two things happens: either he then sees his wife's face and then feels like, oh, I have to do something because she's upset, or she legit says something to him, and then he goes up and does something.
Or, and I'm going to offer this point, and a lot of people say this, and I think this is valid. This was mentioned on the Breakfast Club. Will Smith's laugh might not have actually been a laugh at the joke. There's a high chance that the laugh was genuinely one of those things that people do just because everyone else is laughing. So you kind of do a fake laugh, like a ha ha.
Yeah.
But you actually don't find it funny. Obviously, we don't know. Neither one of us on this podcast.
Yeah.
We have no idea why he laughed. Maybe he thought that, because to me, it wasn't even anything to laugh at. Like as I was watching it, right? Like literally, me and you, Kenny, we have a really crass sense of humor. I don't even think that shit was funny that he said. I'm being completely honest. It just wasn't.
But I don't think he really thought it was, because he even says like, it's a light, like he even says like it's just like a nothing thing. Like he's like, oh, whatever, like it's like a light one or whatever.
Yeah, like that, because we know Chris Rock can really go in. Like Chris Rock.
Well, he says right after he says like, okay, I will. Like I'm not going to say your wife's name. He mumbles. He goes, oh, I coulda. Like he makes it clear he had some heat. He makes it clear he had heat.
And I heard Anthony mention last night on the Critical Hit Plus stream, like how when he heard that Will Smith smacked Chris Rock over a joke, he was like, I gotta hear this joke.
Yeah.
That's valid, right? Because to me, that makes so much sense. If you heard that Will Smith, of all people, smacked someone because they made a joke, right? You would be like, whoa, what? This joke has to be insane.
I was like, this joke must have been foul as fuck.
Yes. And then you hear the joke, and you probably were just like me. You probably like,
I was like, where's the joke?
Yeah, like
where are the jokes?
Where are the jokes? Like to me, to you, like I think a lot of people watching it was kind of like, that didn't seem like an equivalent reaction to what he said. But the laugh, I specifically want to talk about the laugh because again, we're not in the head.
It could have just been like a nothing laugh.
It could. I just want to, because you said one of two things. I think it's like one of three things. It could have been he said something, or he saw her, right? He saw his wife, because she clearly didn't like it, right? So either she said something to him blatantly, that's one. Two, he saw her and was like, okay, I'm disgusted by this and I shouldn't have been laughing, that's two. And three is he laughed nervously, or just like, because literally the whole room kind of did like a chuckle type. Hey guys, if you like this clip, we have full video versions of our podcast episodes available on the IMNerd Patreon, as well as exclusive content.
If you'd like to listen to our full podcast episodes or find us on any other social media platforms, you can do so by clicking the link tree below.